So my name is Vania. I came to the Maryland area for graduate school and moved into this apartment. I got my PhD in neuroscience very recently, and I'm currently a postdoctoral researcher in the DC area. And so this person had a very simple beige carpet down. It was fine living on it for the first year until I realized that I was having some allergy problems. This apartment complex does allow cats, and I'm pretty sure the previous tenant used to have a cat. And so I think we came to the conclusion that we probably should change out the carpeting so that my allergies wouldn't disturb my sleep, which it seemed to be doing. Tired grad students are not happy grad students. As a graduate student, I didn't have that much money on hand, but my studio apartment is relatively small. So I wanted to invest in some sort of flooring that had durability, but also looked good. I grew up in a house with wood floors, so I really, really like the look and the overall feel of wood floors. I actually don't like carpet that much. I guess I have a DIY streak, so I wanted to see if there was something that I and my boyfriend and our friends could try and put in ourselves rather than hiring someone to do. And since the big box stores, there's only a few that have flooring in our area. Home Depot was one of the places that I looked. The main two flooring types that I came down to after reading a bunch of forums and browsing a lot of response threads, I guess, to different flooring ones. One was laminate, which is, I guess, just pressed wood, chunks of it, and then you can piece them together almost like a jigsaw puzzle. And then the other one would be vinyl flooring, which I decided I didn't like the sheet linoleum kind because that has adhesive on the bottom, and I didn't want to damage the existing wood floor that I had. So as far as ruling out laminate, just wood laminate flooring, that was easy for me because, one, I didn't have a saw on hand, and I've sawed things before, and it's kind of annoying. So if we wanted to install laminate flooring by ourselves, we would have to section the pieces as we came to like the edge of a room, and I felt like that would be a lot of effort. I'm also kind of lazy. So then it came down to the vinyl flooring, which, like I said, I didn't want to use the sheet type because of the adhesive. And so then it came down to floating flooring, which is the type of flooring that just sits on top of your existing floor and doesn't actually physically stick to it. There's another brand that I was looking at, and then it was the Allure brand. The main problems that came up in forums regarding the flooring that Allure has, there's the two. There's the Allure Ultra and then the just the, I guess, Allure flooring. One is the adhesive grip strip type, which has adhesive only in the joints between neighboring planks. And so that was, of course, the first one that I considered because it's, one, it was cheaper, and two, just sticking two pieces together seemed much easier than dealing with the smaller lock joints for the one that we ended up getting. But my main hesitations for Allure was, one, how durable is it? So is it easily scratched? Does it feel weird under your feet? And then a common problem that people listed was that it smelled really bad, that after they put it in their home, it just stunk of chemicals, or say like burning plastic or something. So that I definitely didn't want to do. So I actually went to the store and smelled the pieces. I probably looked kind of weird, but I definitely wanted to make sure that whichever type I bought, I liked the feel, I liked the look, and it didn't smell. The Allure Ultra is the one without adhesive. I really, really liked the feel of it. It's thicker. You can kind of see when you pick up a piece that it has multiple layers. And I didn't do this in the store, but at home here, I've taken like keys and a knife and just tried to scratch the piece just to test how durable it is. And it's very impressive. It also looks really nice. It looks like hardwood floor. And then that was the one that I chose, basically based on the feel, the durability, and the fact that there was no smell at all. So most of the online forums that talked about actually installing it, either for homeowners or for homeowners who are having problems with other people installing it and then it falling apart, I took pretty careful notes on what they had said. So I think the tricky part about working with this particular flooring is that the joints between planks are very small. So there's not very much to work with. So you kind of have to really get it in there in order for the floor not to have cracks or to fall apart later. So I invited a bunch of my friends and my boyfriend over, and we all ripped up the carpet, which was actually very easy. We may not have done it in the most professional way, but we got the work done. Then we took out the boxes of the Allure planks, of course, after all the recommended time of sitting in our apartment to acclimate to my humidity and temperature and whatnot. So the first problem that we came across was the issue of how do you get the planks to sit tightly together, especially when you have one row laid down, the next piece in the next row, and then you want to put in that second piece in the second row. The problem is that you have both a long edge and a short edge that you have to fit in, and you fit both of them in at an angle. So how do you angle something both this way and this way at the same time? So this is sort of the layout of the problem as it's forming. So you can see at this next piece, the second piece of the second row, you end up having to get this edge in, you have to put the plank in like this. But the problem is, what about this edge? So then you have to put it in at this angle. So the problem is now, how do you do this at the same time to get this piece in without gapping on, either this or this? This was an issue that I actually thought about for a while, just on my own. What would be the best way to actually install these pieces without taking forever at each segment? So what we figured out eventually was, all right, we don't want to deal with having to put in two edges at once. So instead, what we'll do is we'll first lay out all of our rows, because these edges are very simple. These edges are actually extremely easy to get in and have a tight connection. So since I had, I guess, 6 or 7 people helping, we had the luxury of doing this. I know a lot of people may not in their situation, but for us it was the easiest thing to do. So first we just made a bunch of rows. Again, you're supposed to, cut this in half so that you really have, like interleaved look, so that it's not like exactly the same, but whatever. Or say like this, right, with a smaller piece that we cut here. So basically what we found was if we had a row and every person could hold on to the seam in the middle to keep these together, we then together angled the whole row up and then shoved it in. So we only had to deal with one edge at once. And I think that was sort of the secret to our success, that we were able to get my whole, maybe not all 500 square feet, but the majority of my studio space refloored in pretty much one afternoon. Again, we had a lot of people helping, and then I think this making the whole rows and then lifting the whole row up at the angle that's necessary to put it in was the key to making it work. Basically, it's a floating floor, so if all of your pieces within the floating floor are secure to its neighbors, the whole thing is, it's going to be too heavy to shift around. It's been over a year. We installed it in the early winter of 2012, and it's going to be early winter of 2014 before you know it. So it has been great. I really do like it. I'm very pleased with the choice that we made. We've definitely put the place to the test. Like I said, am kind of a destructive person, so I have spilled water. We had a cooler that had a leak in it, so we had a big pool of water. I have a fish tank in the corner, so I get water on the floor. I've dropped all sorts of things on the floor. I roll chairs over it. I pull chairs over it. I do wear slippers inside, so I don't wear sort of outdoor shoes, but I have no doubt that all you'd have to do is just Swiffer it up. I also keep a bike. I don't know if you can kind of see my bike wheel in the corner. There's sometimes a black scrape or two, but that actually, I had to search some forums to see what you use to take off some sort of discoloration. And you basically just use a metal scrubby like you'd use for tough pans when you're washing them. You just sort of scrub the surface gently of the flooring, and it actually comes off. I was very surprised, but I did try that. There's been also no smell. I say the first week after we put it in, there was like a very light rubbery smell. That's because I assume from the bottom of the planks, they're sort of a black rubbery material. So there was like a slight rubbery smell, but it was not, to me, it was not chemical, and it didn't bother me, and that smell dissipated very quickly. So there's no smell now that I can see, and I guess this is my floor. So I would recommend this flooring, of course, given the fact that it's worked out very well for us. However, I will note that our floor, again, I had wood floor underneath already, which apparently was very level to begin with. I also don't have a lot of, say, leaking problems, which some people may have in, say, their basement. I know a lot of people, and myself included, I do live in a half basement, but most of my apartment is above ground. So I wasn't too concerned with water coming in, say, from the edges and getting trapped underneath the vinyl. So the vinyl, vinyl is good for waterproofing, but the problem is if you spill water on top, that's great because you just mop it up. But what if water comes in from the bottom? There are pros and cons with every floor. I think for us, this was the best choice. For me, I really, really like the floor. I would definitely recommend it, but I would also say definitely do your homework, ask around in forums. There's a lot of very knowledgeable people out there, so if you're not sure if your floor is level enough for this or that your particular situation would be good or bad for this kind of flooring, definitely do your research first, especially if you're going to try and install it yourself. I would also say if you do want to install it, get as many people as you can to help you because, again, if you put the whole row in first, you will be so much happier with how quickly and how efficiently you can lay it down. Whereas if you only have, say, 2 people, you can only hold 2 planks together at once in that row, and you're always going to have to deal with putting in 2 edges at once, and that was a headache. So just do your research. Go to the store, wherever store carries the flooring you're interested in. For me, it was Home Depot. I definitely recommend go see the flooring first. And then sort of think about in your mind how the pieces would come together so you can sort of plan out the way that you would lay it down. I think all of that really made the experience actually really fun for us.